All right, buenísimo. Let's go. Welcome, welcome, welcome. All right, I should definitely hide your name. Go with KF. Okay. Okay. Let's stop the video, share the screen, and let's get down to business. Miami in the house. My Jupiter MC line. I always do really good readings for people from Miami. Let's not curse this one, but here we go. What if I just sat here and just didn't say anything for the next hour and a half and sent you the video? Anyways. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. So let's look at all this stuff. So you are like me, a Leo rising, you're an Aquarius sun, and you have a 29-degree Pisces moon. Oh, nice. It's the same as my Pisces sun, but mine's 28. A lot of Pisces energy in the 8th house. Very interesting. So me and you, we have the same houses because we're both Leo risings. So that's cool. You got that North Node in Cancer, South Node in Capricorn, and you are. Is my thing charging? Very important. My computer dies mid-reading. That's not good for any parties. Why isn't it charging? Charge. Okay, cool. All right. So yeah, and then Chiron is in Taurus, conjunct the midheaven. Very interesting. All right. Well, so Leo rising. Obviously, us Leo risings have that swagger, but yeah, us Leo risings, we definitely Leo rising. It's very interesting because it makes the sun in Aquarius, excuse me, rule your chart. So a sun ruled chart, it makes an individual sun sign even more important. And in this case, like the full, and the highest energy manifestation of that sun sign is what's important, right? So basically, as an and Leo rising also, obviously it's fire, and it gives one the ability to really, really rise to the challenges and become, like have a certain passion for what they do. One thing I really admire about Leo risings is that they have like a sort of infectious gregariousness, right? And interestingly, you have the activation of the um Aquarius Leo axis in your chart. You see, because the sun opposite the ascendant, at least by degree, by sign. So, when I see an axis activated, that, like, obviously, that you have to, the theme of that axis, right? Because the axis represents like the 6 oppositions, right? Every sign has an opposite, and it's the same energy but the opposite manifestation. So, for me as a karmic astrologer, I'm really ultimately looking at, the purpose in everything, karmic purpose. So for someone with this type of placement, basically as an Aquarius rising, so with the South Node in Capricorn, right? The South Node and it's in the 6th house of Virgo, right? So that's double Earth for your nodal energy. So you know that there's a past life tendency to be too in the material world. Capricorn also, like when I see that the Capricorn Cancer axis in the North Node and South Node, oftentimes there is something around, like a lot of times there's like a recent gender change. Not always, but some people, like a big thing in their life is being able to really have a good energy with or not good energy, a good balance of the feminine and masculine. And sometimes they can feel like it's a struggle, not like not necessarily like anything related to like trans or anything like that, like where they feel like I'm not saying that's what it is. Like where they feel like they're not, the correct gender. But yeah, it can just be a little bit difficult to it can be just a little bit difficult to feel like like they can really embody, like a lot of people with this, like I've talked to have been like, yeah, I was like a tomboy early on and I really had to figure out like the balance between the feminine and the masculine, right? But with the North Node in Cancer, basically there's been a far more masculine tendency in past lives. So getting, and in the sixth house, it's been a way, and is there any squares? The moon, interesting. Interesting, very interesting. So, the moon in Pisces is a skip step. It's no, it's not exact, but um, when the moon is square the nodes, a lot of times there's like a lot of karmic issues with the family of origin, unresolved issues, and also, with the emotional body, right? And sometimes even with like, the mother or, the primary caregiver. And there's lots of different potentials, right? Lots of different potentials. So ultimately, a lot of times people with that will have a sort of projection, or like insecurity, right? Where they'll kind of like try too hard to get their sense of security or happiness um from like an external like kind of like from like their lover or from their family, like it'll like they really need to go within themselves and fix emotional issues from past lives, right? And in your case you have moon and Pisces square Neptune, and with the south node ruler being Saturn, it's down there in the fourth house, so that speaks further, um you know and when we talk about like the Saturn energy, it can be a lot of repression, right? So once again, the placement with the moon square nodes can indicate unresolved gender issues, so that's like another potential of that, or like dissatisfaction with gender roles. And yeah, like that's like already two potentials of like a recent gender switch or a recent gender switch in incarnations, recent incarnations. So yeah, there's definitely like that potential that is the case. And yeah, so yeah, so that's big. And then when you compound Saturn onto that, right? When you add Saturn there, you can think about how Saturn, when it comes to like everything related to the karma, um and to the moon, to emotions, yeah, there can be repression. I always say there's like a certain level of stuck emotional patterns. So looking at like what I, how I kind of have, my own unique way look at this past life story, um, I see how you could be a Pisces moon in this lifetime, because a big goal for you in this incarnation is to really experience the full spectrum of emotions and to feel things, Now, the fact that it's square Neptune and you're, one of, if not the most sensitive moon sign, which makes you like one of the most sensitive people, the fact that it's square Neptune, that is, Neptune rules your moon. So it's squaring your moon, which creates an effect where it's almost like an imbalance and something that needs to get checked. And since Neptune is so it's all about compassion and empathy. Well, it's also about like at a low energy, it can be about like feeling things, and it's not lower energy, but just feeling everything so intensely that the self kind of takes itself out in like an escapist way, right? Like it goes towards escapism. That's a big potential there. So it's really important when you have like Neptune square moon people, and the early mothering is super important to someone with that kind of placement. And like I said, there could be like a lot of karma with the mother, difficult karma. Um, And if that's the case, a Pisces moon kid needs to feel nurtured. They need to feel held by the universe. They need to, or not by the universe, but by their caregivers. They need to really feel that deep love. So if they don't get that, it makes it super hard. And they can also, like with the square with Neptune, it makes it extremely important how the early nurturing was with the mother and with the early caregivers, not just mother, but like the mother. Well, yeah. This one is really with the mother. If the mother was very stressed out at the time of birth, if she was going through negative emotions, if the pregnancy, for example, was an accident or was not wanted, which happens, um, or just like it was wanted, or it was surprised that they weren't not open to it, right? Like there's a million potentials, but like the whole point is that like the mother, a lot is very crucial for the moon, Pisces moon square Neptune person, because they take in, they're a sponge, they're so empathetic, they're a sponge for all energy. So they need, first of all, like they can take on like any shame, any guilt, any sadness, any negative emotions that aren't theirs. um and like I've literally had clients before where I've had the follow-up sessions. I'm talking to them like, um I'm like, they're like, yeah, like that thing you said, um it really like made me think. It made me think, and I realized like, damn, like I am, um hold up. Yeah, no, I hold up, sorry. Sorry, I have to do something really quickly. Take 2 seconds. But yeah, like I've had like those conversations were just wild to me. Um, I just have to make a video. Uh, Yeah, you should do. Yeah, yeah. No, okay, I'm back. So yeah, it's just been wild. Like honestly, I can think of one girl who just yeah, I just lost the Wi-Fi for a second. But yeah, I was saying I can think of like one client who like it was like almost like a breakdown because she was like, wow, like I literally took on so much of the shame, so much of like the anger, so much of the sadness, like all these things that my mom had, and they're not mine. So with the Neptune square moon, there's definitely this need to understand that like what you're feeling is intense, and a lot of people run away from it, right? So it's like, for example, like you grow up and you're able to like feel the suffering of animals, right? And you have all these feelings, it just makes life so unbearable, right? Because having this, being a Neptunian like you are, um you are used to the heavenly realms, right? um Pisces moon, right? So when you're used to that, you have to watch out for, like, you can be very susceptible. It's like someone who's like lived in like an example. I don't know, like it's like someone who just like grew up like in a perfect society or something like that, where they just grew up like in a perfect town and they moved to like somewhere like, I don't know, most places, a lot of places in the world, like just like a really hustle bustle place, like some part of the US where people are just fucking you over. And you know, they just get screwed over by people. So like the Neptunians, they really like, they need to have very strong boundaries. They need to spend time alone. And with the Neptune square moon, there can be a proneness to moodiness and depression. Um, and also it can create like a lot of fog in understanding your emotions. And the one huge thing about it is that because you're such a sponge, um that yeah, there can be lots of confusion, and you can take on so much of other people's energy, right? So if you work in an environment that has bad vibes people, if you date someone that's like that, like, you can literally take that on. That's why I was saying last reading, it's so funny I got back to back Neptunians, but like, you know like there's a lot of Neptunians that like fall into addiction, that turn bad, right? Because they're such sensitive souls, and they're not able to heal, right? So when you're taking on so much of other people's energy, you have to understand the power of being alone. So when it comes to relationships, you need to find relationships that help you value, or that like where the partner values kind of the softer side of life. And then that goes for you too. You have to learn to value the softer side of your own nature, and find, creative pursuits. Now, creative pursuits doesn't mean like, that it has to be seen by everyone, right? It could just literally be something like, because Neptune rules cameras. And I say it's like every reading I see like some Neptune like squares like this, I always tell the people this because it's a lifesaver. If you just start filming yourself, if you're having like issues with identity or issues with whatever it might be, right? Like just confusion. Like I had my last client like say something in her email about like how she just felt like her life was just going in these circles. Um, like a lot of meaninglessness, right? And I saw all these things in her chart, and I was like, the thing for Neptunians is that they feel most alive when they're connected with universal consciousness, which comes from being of service, right? And they can really feel, because they're so connected to God and to what's really important. They really feel alive when they study metaphysics, right? When they find things about deep human psychology and like think like deep spiritual wisdom, that's when they feel most alive. But they like to really, Pisces moons, they need to feel safe, right? They're such sensitive souls, and where they live is so important, right? Where a Pisces moon lives is so important. And there's that need for that that mystical imagination and that boundlessness. And with the square to the node, that's also stating that, yeah, that like I believe that this square with Neptune also is karmic. And I think one of the big things that I would say with the moon in Pisces square Neptune is that there is definitely the potential to be in the imaginary, not in the real world. Things get so difficult in the real world that like, it's like the whole saying that the mystic and the drug addict exist in the same waters. The mystic just swims to water, just manages to swim, while the drug addict drowns, right? So that one says a lot in itself. And you know, having your Mars in Pisces also is interesting, but I'll get into that a little later, because let's kind of like figure out like the whole energy, right? So you have what I have, right? Where it's like, as Leo risings, we come off in a way that is way different than kind of who we are at a core level. Of course, like you have by element a quincunx, between these two. Um, hold up. So, when that's the case, um, the way that the Leo rising appears is so different. So people might meet you and they might say, "Oh, like such a fun person," and all these things, right? Like Leo risings, how they be. But then there's that shock factor, um when they when they get to know you, and it's like, oh, like, damn, this person, like, she's so sensitive, like she's so, and of course, like, the thing with Pisces moon also, and kind of what I was getting to say is, with that factor of being able to kind of like escape, right, and not face reality, Pisces moons and Pisces sometimes can be some people that really, really struggle with actually allowing themselves to feel emotion, you know? Um, Usually it's the men, but not always, right? So yeah, it's just interesting, it's just interesting because um it's passed on. So this is a karmic thing. So whatever this means to you, and just so you know, like, I'm pretty sure, I don't have it in front of me right now. I'm pretty sure you have the follow-up. What nearly every single person does, not everyone, but most people, what they do is they get this reading, and then they do the current astrology / spiritual alignment. I just changed the name. It's current astrology, but I just do so much in that reading. So the follow-up, which you already have, is an hour, but it's just about this, right? We're not talking about transits or anything. But yeah, like the one that I'm telling you about, it's the same reading. So we just book it, and you already have the follow up. So it's not like it's no pressure. I'm just telling you because this is like kind of how you get the full Jesse experience. Um, and the current astrology I use every form of like predictive astrology that I know to help you understand, where, like, kind of the energetic weather for you at the current time, right? So yeah, you can let me know. Usually I charge a lot more for it than I would charge you. I would be happy to do it for 270. You just have to remember that that's the price I told you. Usually it's like, I think, 380 or something like that. So um yeah, just let me know about that. And yeah, go back to the reading. So anyways, as a Leo rising and the Pisces moon, it can be difficult because people can expect you to be a lot more social, a lot more fiery, a lot more outgoing. I mean, it's not that you're not outgoing. It's just like they can expect, because you exude those things externally, they can expect you to be like that more internally, right? But then, so like, for example, like someone might meet you and think, okay, this person doesn't need that much alone time. They're probably very extroverted. So there can be some confusion that comes up when you have that kind of relationship between ascendant and moon, because the moon is your core, your emotion, who you are at an emotional level, and the ascendant is more of like your shell. Like, it's like, you know, like kind of how you show, how you show up, right? So that's one thing. With that aside, being an Aquarius, obviously I'm not big on getting into sun signs. People know their sun signs. But I will say some things like how Aquarius energy is definitely, you have the two last signs of your sun and moon. I have one friend that has this, and it's a very interesting combo because well, actually no, wait, she's a Pisces Aquarius moon. Who do I know that's Oh yeah, my friend Connor is Aquarius Pisces moon, but he's not spiritual at all. Um, Good guy, but not, you know, he's definitely an alien. So like, it definitely like, I feel like I've met multiple people with this, and I'm always like, these people are aliens. Um, but yeah, like like it's a combo of Uranus and Neptune, right? But those are the two planets that are known as the ambassadors by Stephen Forrest, the astrologer. They're known as the ambassadors into our solar system, right? Because if you think of the energy of these two planets, it's like they are taking information um from different galaxies and bringing them to us, right? So it's just like, it's like having that, you really have the potential to be like a real channel. And I think I believe that with that kind of energy there, it's only a potential. It's something that's like a muscle that you have to really practice, or else it's not just going to come. That's my belief, at least. So your sun being in the seventh house, your moon being in the eighth house is very interesting, because it just shows how big of a part of your life relationships are, and how much of a breeding ground for your growth those are. Um, and the eighth house moon, seventh house sun is like, it's like partnerships, relationships, stuff like that, right? So it's like, and it can even be like clients, even open enemies. But it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of energy that goes down in that area of life. And yeah, it's just like, you learn a lot from these relationships, and then you transform through them, right? Because the seventh house is where we meet other, right, in the zodiacal story. And then the eighth house is where we transform, right? It's where we go, where we transform, where we truly transform. I'm gonna say transform for the 15th time in a row. Not 15, but yeah, it's really like where things go down, where we have to learn, as a Pisces moon, the eighth house, to have boundaries and to surrender and to let go. That's where that happens, right? So, in life, it's very, very hard to have room for for all these different people, places, and things. Um, if you're not able to let go of those that are no longer serving you. And that can be very, very hard for Pisces moon, right? Aquarius obviously is more aloof as a sun sign. So it's kind of it's always an interesting balance to see the Pisces Aquarius is Aquarius Pisces is Pisceans, right? It's always interesting because one side is very detached, or can be very detached, while the other one is very like the opposite, right? But overall, you would meet, you'd have very karmic relationships um that would really mirror aspects of you. And then in the eighth house, that's that deep kind of scorpionic, like, look within, that deep look within, that deep honest look within, right? um and just being able to like kind of like, yeah, so like that's a big part of the life purpose right there, is boundaries. But then that goes back to the North Node in Cancer in the 12th house, which is ultimately creating that deep spiritual relationship with not just with yourself, but with like really getting deep into your emotions, Cancer, really getting deep into your physical. So it's like it's like really finding the right balance between masculine and feminine, and being more on the feminine side in this lifetime. Going into, so a big part of your chart is all about going into the emotions, right? Feeling them, crying, whatever, like energy, like emotions are energies that have to be felt. And then until we feel these different emotions, we cannot truly grow, right? Like fully grow as souls. We can talk about emotions all we want, but is that really doing the job? I don't think so. So, yeah, that's kind of like that energy. So yeah, when you combine those all together, you have fire, air, water. Um, and yeah, as I was saying, like with the North Node in Cancer, it's just like, yeah, like 12th house is like, it's the zeitgeist. It's like the it's Pisces energy, right? It's deep mysticism. It's like really understanding, what's underlying everything. So there is that need to kind of like really, yeah, take deep spiritual dives, and to dream. It's really like also allowing that Pisces moon to have these deep dreams, and to kind of like not just not because being in the spiritual realm, because like the sixth house south node, like I was saying earlier, it's so in the material realm, right? And I believe that people who have that double earth in the south node energy compared to double water, there's some level of conditioning that's come across, right? As like a past life tendency. There's some level of conditioning where they, like for whatever reason, have kind of stayed in the more material realms. Um, and this, yeah, a good comparison in this world would just be like, working that corporate job, like, getting that money, There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when that's taken too far, um, it definitely like has an effect on the spirit, on the spiritual growth, right? So in this life, you're like, I'm here to grow spiritually. It's not the only thing, but that's one thing. So, um, you know, I definitely think that there's probably some early restriction childhood wise. And I think that a big thing for you is learning to find your voice, and learning to really transform kind of that throat chakra of being able to speak your truth. And I definitely mean that on like a level that's more emotional, because in past lives, the third house Pluto, I always look at that as like someone who, based on their source of information, um, like, or not based on it, like basically like I always talk about, your dharma is basically comes from your belief systems about how the world is and what's important, right? So, if you believe the world is one way, then you're gonna base your career slash what you do in the big picture on that. So, um, I think for you, it's really important to like, I guess what I would say, like in past lives, that you've been, the right information didn't come to you. That's why we see this South Node in Capricorn in the sixth house, right? So in this life, um, it's really about like, yeah, getting the like you doing the groundwork to go and get the correct information, that then leads to your truth, if that makes sense. And then also with communication, being able to like, channel energy, whether it's into writing or, whatever it might be, being able to channel your core energy into something, like that. But I think one thing that might be difficult to get past is the potential for, early setbacks in childhood, like potential feeling of restrictiveness, right? So that's something that, you know, you would have had a lot of ease, like, or a lot more ease after your Saturn return. But it's definitely, it was most likely difficult in that respect, and maybe you were shy, and you do have your Chiron, it's in Taurus, so it's on the midheaven. So people with that, they midheaven Chirons are people that are like either meant to be healers for their career of some sort, or um they just like appear to the masses as a healer, but like really, Chiron up there, 10th house, Dharma. I think that like, even if that's not your job, I think that that's definitely playing a role in your life. So, um, that is neat. Um, so okay, Venus and Mars are conjunct in Pisces, right? So they are, um, so yeah, and they're squaring Neptune. Well, yeah, I mean maybe more Mars, but that right there is very, very important, because Mars and Venus and Pisces, like that's just like the most lover energy, right? Venus and Pisces is so romantic. Mars and Pisces is like so peaceful, and they're so compassionate. That this energy is directed towards compassion, right? Their primal energy. Um, it's directed towards spirituality, towards mysticism. So, um, and Venus and Pisces are very romantic, but the fact that they square Neptune, like I'm just telling you, like you have 3 of your 6 personal planets square Neptune, you've got to watch out for being fooled by people. Um, you've got to watch out for being fooled. I'm not calling you gullible, but what I'm saying is that it goes back to that being a really good person, and how really, really empathetic and good people sometimes, they like, because of that angel like quality, they see the best in people, and they can attract these energy vampire narcissistic types, and that's the thing with Venus square Neptune, right? I've seen it so much with people, and I always say, look, like, you know there can be this potential energy with, especially Venus and Pisces, where love, like romantic love, can be looked at as the love all, what's it called? What's the expression? Love all, see all, love all, no, see all, be all. Is that it? I can't remember. But basically, like, as like the thing that, like, is going to save their life, and they can have this tendency, potential, to place their partners on a pedestal. So it's super, super important for them to, have a more like, I guess, like pragmatic and like realistic approach to matters of the heart, because it's just not easy. And I think, like, I've just seen it so many times, I've seen it way too many times, like whether it's my own friends, the best friend I grew up with, he had this, and he was like all Aries, everything, like very masculine energies. Um, but his Venus and Pisces, I don't think it was for Neptune, you see, but he fell for a girl who ruined his life, and she like now he's like a Jehovah's Witness. He has no joy left in him. He like cut off ties with everyone in his family, with me, with all his friends, like it's crazy shit, right? So it's just like that over idealism can be very bad, but it's also like Venus and Pisces, they want this universal love, and they have such a beautiful ability to create art, but that's where the channel needs to go, because you have 3 planets in Pisces. So Pisces is so mutable and it's so like extraterrestrial and shit that sometimes it can feel very misunderstood, and so can obviously Aquarius. So there can be the temptation, you know, and I just, so much of your energy is just like, yo, you gotta just create. You gotta create no matter what it is. And that's the thing about Pisces, right? Is that Pisces can be very, very, very creative, if not the most creative sign up there. But the thing is that, where they can struggle is they can give up on themselves super fast, right? They can really give up on themselves fast. So it's of the utmost importance for them to, you know, to really like garner to that earth element, right? And you don't have earth personal planets. Yeah, yeah. So that's tough. Um, so then the question, I don't either. I have no earth either. So we have all that Pisces. So like I said, I already talked enough about boundaries, but then it's like, okay, well, how do I you know cater, how do I create this earth into my, like this earth in myself, even if I don't have earth in my natal chart? Well, the answer is through really, really, really being mindful and determined when it comes to creating a routine, right? That is the massive thing there. Creating a routine, huge. Um, hold up one sec. Yeah, so creating a routine is massive. Um, and a routine that hits you on like every level, spiritual, mental, physical, and all that. The non-earth person, the way I would describe it is that they're just gonna, they tend to have, we tend to have trouble. I'm a Pisces also, we tend to have trouble. I'm a Pisces sun, but yeah, we tend to have trouble with no earth. I like, the way I call it is waking up each day and feeling like the same version of ourselves. It's like, people who can just go to work. And yeah, being an Aquarius will help that because it's fixed energy, and being a Leo rising will help that because it's fixed fire, it's fixed air. But still, like, it's so creative, it's so go with the flow. But Pisces can be head cases, and the whole Pisces thing, which, I go through all the time, where I just need to disappear. Um, you feel sometimes like you just need to dip out from reality, not in that way, but like, yeah, just disappear and just like not be on your phone. And yeah, so like Pisces are crazy like that a little bit, but that's just because they're so sensitive, and they'd rather hang out with their cats and, maybe like one very special person or two, like people, just keep it like very, very low key, I guess. um let's see here. Oh, hey Esme, you want to help me with my work? All right. um yeah, so like, like for me, for example, with the Earth thing, it's like running, right? Like running, and I don't do it every day. You know, I'm not like perfect like that. But I understand that, like, for example, like I can't really drink alcohol. You know, like some people like, and not that I want to, like I do it very rarely, but like I just know that there's some people who can like have a few beers and like they're fine, you know, like they can sleep and all that, and it's cool, you know, good for you. But for me, it's just like so not worth it, right? So for non-Earth people, they have to understand that they're gonna have to go out of their way to keep that groundedness. Now, I will say this: you don't have any Earth, but you do have your South Node in an Earth sign and an Earth house. So that could be the case that you master that energy. So that's something that's important to note, right? That you could have mastered the energy, and in this life, it's like I don't need it anymore. I literally just said that. This is my third reading. These days I'm doing like 3 reading nights. It's so chill. Just back to back to back. Well, I took a longer break between second and third. There's 2 back to back. But so I forget, but like they're all like so similar. It's so fucking weird. It always happens to me. But I've said that a million times because it's happening. But anyways, so yeah, like working with like physical earth, you know, like gardening is one thing. Um, doing things with your hands, right? Like fixing things, assembling things, um, you know, painting, anything that like hiking that gets you out on the earth. Meditation is massive. Kundalini yoga, you know, anything that's like getting you more embodied, yoga, any kind of yoga, really, right? Um, Now with your Mars square, oh no, it's not that. No, you have Mars square Neptune, not Pluto. But okay, yeah. So just like there can also be frustration with the Neptune energy in one way, yeah, is to really like the more healthy you are in your energetic body, your spiritual body, all that, the better your odds are of not tricking yourself or being tricked by others or anything like that, right? So also, and I look at your part of fortune for this, you're at your best, right? When you have a very like think of like it's like a not Declaration of Independence. It's like a constitution of self, right? The second house, Virgo, is like maybe you write this down, but like really thinking about like what are my core values? What are my core rules for me as a human being? Like what will I not bend on, right? And being firm in that and then basing all your did you lose your thing, Esme? All your decisions off of that is massive, right? And that's, you know, in Virgo. And also, yeah, like you're at your best when you have that health, that daily routine locked in, you know, with sleep, with all the things, you know, with like a creative outlet. You know, the Neptune energy needs a creative outlet. Like film yourself, do the thing. This is 3 readings in a row. I literally cannot remember if I said this in this reading already, but if I didn't, if I did, I'm gonna say it again. Neptune rules cameras. You can literally do a daily vlog where you film yourself and it will change everything. Like I didn't believe it at first, but I told people about it and I started doing it for myself and it fucking changes so much stuff. And you don't have to show anyone. You just talk about your emotions and your journey and like it just is a game changer. Also mirrors and positive affirmations. But yeah, with the squares, right? Um, yeah, so like with the Venus one, like I said, it's like the hopeless romantic and the person who might turn down like the relationships that are actually good for them and go for the ones that are not good for them, right? Um, and that's no good. That's no good. So, Mars square Neptune. Yeah, so it's like the rose-colored glasses in love, the pink cloud period. And you know, it just makes one have like a very because Venus is self-love and Neptune creates fog. That's why like the whole thing of being of service is so important, because and even your 12th house north node, that's the house of being of service, right? So yeah, like it's just way easier. And with Mars, and I would definitely avoid all substances or really be careful with them, because Mars square Neptune can lead to poisoning. It's definitely something that like you see in the charts of people who have issues with substances. It's not like an automatic thing. It's just like there's a potential there. But for some reason, like with a lot of my clients, like that have that, they end up telling me like, oh, like it was like my dad was an alcoholic and I just never drank. I swear I've heard that so many times. It's so funny. But yeah, like with the North Node in the 12th house, it's really a quest to see yourself as a part of like the greater whole of all existence. So it's like yeah, all about spiritual, like transforming your life into like finding spiritual unity with the universe. And also like around self-compassion and learning to tolerate your own failures and imperfections, right? So yeah, and just like I said, like expressing your emotions honestly, opening that throat chakra, and being able to like really nurture other people with that wisdom that you have, because you've had a lot of past lives where you've worked your fucking ass off, and those have taken away from, like you've done that work, you've done that work. So yeah, on like with pain, Chiron Taurus pain is definitely um yeah, it's about values, but it's also somatic and self-esteem based. So when one is able to really find where they fit in society, where they fit in themselves, find that home within themselves, which is like, what Cancer is all about, right? Is finding that home within yourself, Cancer North Node, things get easier. Some people, Chiron and Taurus, will have a lack of self-worth. They're overcompensate on what else is Taurus, money, possessions, all that. It's also big on, back to the yoga thing, on learning to trust your body, learning to believe that your body is beautiful, right? So, the more you do that, and the fact that it's on the midheaven, is massive, right? But like also some of the challenge with 10th house Chiron people is that they sometimes feel like have like trauma or like very difficult um things that have happened to them in the public that kind of keep them, even though they're meant to be healers, like for their job or for whatever, it might keep them away from doing that, right? So yeah, it's like a feeling like inadequate in the outside world. Um, so yeah, it can make someone like, yeah, very unsure of their career path and whatnot. Um, so also you have Juno on your sun. That's cool. Um, so that as an Aquarius, like people with Juno, which is all about love, um, it makes them very like good at expressing love and expressing themselves best when they're in relationships. It adds kind of like a diplomatic and very fair um energy to them. Yeah, like the idea of like being fair and being and yeah, and being able to like really put others at ease definitely runs high with you. But yeah, and just being like a great nurturer, definitely someone who's a catch for anyone. Um, and the fact that's on your descendant means that you're really able to see the best in your partner, which goes exactly with the high energy of the Pisces and Mars and Venus and Moon, right? But this is the thing, and this is the big thing, is that you have that potential to see, like I was talking about before, but like really like it's good for you to have like a Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn friend, you know, who can just like, and you might be married, you know, I mean, I have no idea, but if not, you know, because I do these readings like the same way for people at all ages, besides like, you know, like 18 or under or something like that. But like, I mean, I do readings for them, but I'll do like, you know, teenagers readings and kids readings, a bit different. But yeah, basically it's just important to really dial in that area of realism and love, and taking things slow, not making promises like, oh my God, I met my soulmate. Yeah, that's not the right move. Um, and yeah, just like Saturn on the ice in the fourth. I already talked about that. I already talked about that. But yeah, mostly Saturn fourth house people, they didn't feel like very supported early in life, you know. But they want to create a home life. And I'm not saying that your early home life was bad, by the way. I'm just saying that like a lot of times with that energy, they want to create a lot of the times, but I don't see like, you know, yeah, with the moon square Neptune, that could also spoken, yeah, it's like a difficult relationship with the mother, with the south node too, with the nodes too, and then the sun is square Chiron. Also, that's what I didn't really talk about. So that can speak, you know, to pain with the father relationship, that represents like a massive childhood wound that has to get passed, which actually shows you is even more of a meant to be healer, right? Like, because this one's connected to your father. So yeah, with that one, it can make someone like feel, you know, really lack confidence. And they have to really like, and it's a rite of passage, right? Because they're meant to get past that. You know, they're meant for great things. They're meant to get past that, because that, you know, that very wound is the source of that great healing, you know. So yeah, it's very common for people with sun Chiron to become healers. Sun square Chiron. Who's meowing? Fedig, come here. Okay. Yeah. So with the Mars square, the Mercury square. Ooh. Okay. So you have some communication. Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, with the Mars square Neptune, Esme, come here. Come help me with my astrology. Esme, Esme, come here, baby. Come on, come on, come on, come on, little Esme. Esme, come on, come on, Esme, Esme. Come on, yeah. Esme in the house. The Astro Kitty. Okay, Esme, please do what you did last reading. Can you do it for me, please? Look at Esme, please, please, please. Do your thing. Stay, stay, stay. Okay, look at the chart and tell me, Esme, do your thing. Look at the chart and tell me what I need to focus on. Wait, you didn't, was that the sun? Esme, look again, look again. Okay, you looked at Chiron midheaven. We just talked about that. That's funny. That's two readings in a row where she looked at Chiron. Last time it was on the IC, this time it was on the midheaven. Hmm. Well, I guess she's just highlighting the importance of you being someone who's meant to be a healer. I mean, your Chiron's on the midheaven, which represents the career as a healer, and then square the sun. So it's like your own healing journey is going to be used to be able to like, you know, replicate other people's healing journey and help them. And then the fact that your son's on the descendant would be so perfect for a career as a healer, because you know, the seventh house also represents not just relationships and open enemies and partnerships, but also client, um, uh, practitioner, or you know, counselor or whatever type clients. So that's cool. Or relationships. Excuse me. So okay, your creativity is off the chains. You have Jupiter, Uranus, Vertex, and Neptune all in the fifth house. Like that is wild. Neptune in the fifth. Also, it's really cool for children because Jupiter in the fifth house means that you can really learn a lot and expand for your children. And it's in Sagittarius, which makes you like a natural teacher and student, and you are just here for that amazing like energy and expansion through it. Um, just someone who loves adventure, right? Loves study, philosophy, like learning all kinds of different stuff. And I love Jupiter and Sag, like people like that. Like it's in its dignity. It's the best position for Jupiter. But then in the fifth house, you're always looking for ways to expand your self-expression, right? And as a Leo rising, that makes you even more Leo, right? The fifth house is the house of Leo. So when we talk about the axis, I haven't talked about Aquarius and Leo. That's showing me in past lives, there's probably some level of it. No, yeah, literally with the Capricorn South Node in the sixth house of you blending in and being conditioned. Is condition the right word? Just like not living your life according to the authentic self, not because of any flaw in character, but more so likely a flaw in society, right? So, um, in this life, you're really trying to be your authentic self. So do anything like journaling, poetry, like I have a whole book of poetry here, right? I don't show anyone this. Like, I have poems from like, I haven't written one in a while, but I have all kinds of stuff in this book. This book is like, it's not even, it's probably half full, not even, maybe a third full. And I have other books too, dream journaling, whatever, things that get you into your right brain are going to be the key for you. Uranus in the fifth house is so fucking cool. And they're both on Antares. Wow. That is cool. So Jupiter is on Antares. Um, so Jupiter and Uranus, but Uranus isn't that big a deal. So yeah, Uranus in the fifth, like that is someone, yeah, who like when they're just in their creative vibe, right? Because the difference is between like a lot of people are creative, but they're just conditioned, They're just fucking doing it to do it. They're not actually making a difference. So when you're someone who can really do it, right? When you're someone who has found within themselves, like to be able to truly create, you have to know, you have to be in touch with your inner child. And that's where so many people get stuck because so many people, they grow up and they say, oh, I need to shut down my inner child. And that's one thing that makes Leo placement so great, right? So, like having Jupiter with Antares, I'll say like it is really good for spirituality, even religion. And there could also be like a lot of mental alertness, a very strategic ability in the mind, and even like kind of like a risk taker. But they have to watch out for like a tendency towards hypocrisy and kind of like the Sag dogmatism. Like Sag is meant to be open-minded, right? Constantly updating. And then the fifth house vertex, that's like your doorway to higher awareness. Inside, your doorway to higher awareness is through the more that you learn, the more that you learn and the more that you like that your version of truth expands. Esme, bring me a toy. You deserve it, Esme. We play fetch over here at the cats. So then fifth house vertex, it's through creativity. And this could all be children too. It could be, anything that you create authentically, which is a big part of your chart, that is your doorway to higher awareness, right? Also just love in general, like love is like the energy of love is the doorway to higher awareness, right? um so it can give like very intense initiation in all matters to do with love, right? Children, or just like romantic love. but it's like super creative, this vertex placement, right? So yeah. And also the anti-vertex in 11th will bring like the right groups to you, friend groups and just like groups in general, whom you're like destined to join, and really it's meant to um test your ability to truly love altruistically. Um And then Neptune in the fifth, is beautiful because it means that you can create, like, the Uranus, it's like you're able to create and get downloads when you create of like how to do it. Like when you're just writing in your flow state, you just get the downloads. The Neptune makes you able to really like have this, it just gives a super strong artistic and inspirational creative nature. And you create through your intuition again. So it's like these two together are crazy. A lot of people will have these ones with Saturn there because you're born 83. You just have these two, and it's and Jupiter. So it's amazing. You have three great ones. Um, but yeah, it's really like as a Leo rising, you're being pushed to create in this lifetime for sure. Um, Now Mercury is in Aquarius, so that's your mind. So that makes someone like, brimming with so many original ideas. It's very genius potential. Very good for like working with friends and groups of people. Someone who's ahead of their time in their mind and who thinks outside the box, right? Very, very inventive, and they're very rebellious in their way of thinking, and they're not just thinking based on like the consensus. It is in the seventh house, so that's just like adding one more element to relationships where there's a level of communication that's needed and intellectual connection. But with all that Pisces energy and Mars, Pisces energy, like I already kind of spoke about how relationships, they're meant to really give you like this real spiritual groundedness, this real emotional groundedness. But I don't believe that you're meant to just be with people who are just like you. Um, but yeah, I think that, and I would never say like a certain sign that someone's meant to be with. It's way more complicated. I do compatibility readings, right? But yeah. So let's see. So your Mercury has some tough aspects. It's square Saturn, and square Pluto. So those two are obviously together. So it kind of just hits like basically the midpoint, essentially. Yeah, it's like right in the midpoint of that. So basically, squaring Saturn, Mercury, that's tough because it can give like a very it can definitely have like a tough effect on the it can have a tough effect on the um like it could like Mercury square Saturn can definitely make someone prone to depressive thoughts, prone to self-limiting beliefs, negative thinking, pessimism, fear, all things like that, right? Um, and they can push themselves into isolation, sadness, feeling lonely, because it kind of inhibits the thinking and communication, right? And it can make one quite shy and difficult when it comes to open up. Now, it also can make someone very, very studious and have a very deep interest in very deep subjects like the occult. Um, so it's really important to have that Sagittarian large viewpoint and escape the potential for like overanalyzing every minute detail, right? And learning to just push yourself to leave the comfort zone and you know just just it's really like gaining that self-confidence is like really on a one-to-one basis. But after the first 30 years after the Saturn return, things with this would have gotten a lot easier, right? um and then you can become, when you combine those two, that's great for intelligence because it's memory Saturn and intelligence Mercury. So yeah, that one is like really like I would ask you to like write down your self-limiting beliefs about yourself and what's possible and see what comes up. But like yeah, with all the Pisces energy already squaring Neptune, there can definitely be potential for depression. So it's important to not suffer in silence. It's important to attract the right mentors, whether it's therapists or whatever, in times of need, and also not to play victim and blame others. It's always important also with that Neptune energy, the squares, to look at your role, even if you were the one that got duped in a situation, to look at your role and be really, really honest and not play victim. Like I can't say enough that like there's a very, very low vibration. Like when people play victim, it just is not good. Um, so yeah, because like if one with this is like you know, blaming others for being rejected, um, it just gives like an insecure energy, that people pick up, right? So it's really just about, and it makes the aura of that person like, you know, like not good, like darker. So it's all about reprogramming the mind, positive mantras, um just really, really, really working hard, and then it gets easier. But like I said, this is probably one that's already gotten easier. So Mercury square Pluto is interesting because it can create a very obsessed mind that can get like very, very like preoccupied by things and become very intensely attached to its beliefs, and it can like bring like very, very like intense confrontations with very intense people, right? Now, in terms of like research, right, things that it's interested in, it can really go crazy. Um, but they have like usually like a lot of times they have like a crisis in the family that gives them this very sometimes cynical, um, very strong opinion of humanity in the world, their worldview, I guess, right? And then that can be subject to criticism. Yeah, like lots of very mentally challenging like debates and challenge and kind of intellectual challenges come up, because there's usually like a very defensive attitude with this one, and sometimes they'll use like manipulation and forceful tactics to like defend their position. And I believe it comes from identifying like too strongly with like the ego with like their thoughts and beliefs, and when those come under attack, they will like just defend it at any length. So it's like being able to like distance yourself, remembering that like you are always updating, like your intelligence is not linked to anything, right? The more intelligent person is able to admit that they're wrong. It's only ignorant people you see, like these big ego dudes online who like, that they're clearly get called out. Instead of just apologizing, they just like back themselves further and further into a corner. Do I have a hole in my Merlin stone? So, it's basically just like leaning more into, and you're very smart, right? Like this is a good one for intelligence, great for street smart. Really like being able to sense people's bullshit and stuff like that. But the thing is, it's more about how you communicate your ideas, because it can lead to the conflict, right? And it can be very dictatorial, and sometimes just aggravate people. So it's all about learning diplomacy, learning that communication, and that is the game changer, right? So, and also because it's Pluto, it's a lot of times like through these experiences, your ideas and your worldviews will go through many changes and transformations. That's a big theme for you is the eighth house moon. Eighth house Mars too, eighth house Venus, death, rebirth, transformation, learning to surrender. That's what I'm gonna call your reading. Um, so yeah, the last thing I'll say about Mars and Neptune is that it's really, really good for humanitarianism. It's really, really good for like caring for others. But there's a huge need to really go into the creative thing. And I use like go watch one of my readings. You will see I do not always say this. I've said so many times to you. This is what I like my astrology is. It's like I see trends all over. All right. So what else? Jupiter and Uranus are together. So that just makes one very enthusiastic about like new ideas, and really able to expand in terms of their eccentric ideas. And it makes the occult really appealing to you, which I've said many times. I'm curious if there's gonna be any asteroids. And someone who just is very rebellious and does not do well with restrictions. Okay. Oh yeah, and then you have Vesta conjunct the moon. So Vesta in 8th house, that just makes one very committed to discovering the mysteries of life and all that. We've detailed. Um, Someone who can teach others about metaphysics. So yeah, very metaphysical chart. Like very, very not interested in like the superficial. So like the Aquarius sun gives you the ability to exist in that world, right? But overall you're definitely way more deep. And like with Vesta, which is kind of like also related to like your work, right? It's like a more fun Saturn. And Pisces is, I feel like it's like what really gets your like your flame, flame of life kind of going, right? So in Pisces, I think that it's like working best when your work is helping humanity, right? And that goes with the Chiron in the midheaven. And really like that commitment to making the world a better place and being of service, which I see all over your chart. So yeah, that 8th house is crazy, crazy cool. And yeah, so like I said, with love, it's a lot, but one, you know, just in general, love, friends, all that, groups, like they have to be pushing you towards your authentic self, right? Not towards like some conditioning. Um, they have to like be able to handle that Pisces energy that can be so up and down and can be impossible for people who don't have water or earth, or like it's not, I don't like any of the astrology because they can have no water, but then they can have Neptune on their sun, like that the last client I did, she had water, but this is 2 Pisces moons in a row. But anyways, yeah, and she was 0, you were 29. Oh yeah, also I didn't talk about your 29-degree Pisces moon. So yeah, basically 29-degree moon in astrology, that's a critical degree. And it's really like it's the last degree, it's culmination, right? So there can be like different crises that happened, but it's definitely the end of like an emotional phase in your you know, in your incarnation, right? So yeah, it's really just like the karmic end of like a certain, and it's the last sign of the zodiac, so it's like of this Pisces energy. So it's like very like pushing you towards like enlightenment. So yeah, like universal consciousness. It's like yeah, healers, psychic, um, unconditional love, all stuff like that, empathy at the highest level, watching out for addictions, isolating. It's high stakes. So being able to distinguish between the abstract um and the tangible. And also you have scat, which is the fixed star at 29 degrees Pisces, which is a tough one. It's we'll talk about that in a little bit. But yeah, really this is like the degree 29 Pisces of uniting with collective consciousness. And that's what the North Node in your chart is all about. So how about that for you? Okay. What else about love? Oh yeah, Black Moon Lilith. I didn't talk about that in Sirius. So they're both in Capricorn. They're conjunct each other. Sirius and Capricorn. You are definitely, like caring for other people in a way. Um, you know, you feel very nurtured when when people help you reach your ambitions, and you're able to really also you enjoy self-discipline, and you're good at it, and you're able to teach others about it and help others achieve their goals through like finding like through that healing journey. And Sirius in the sixth house, that's kind of like about just the day-to-day stuff, and also that, like things being in order in your life and in your body and everything like that, in your mind, how that brings you nurturance, and then also just how being of service to other people brings you that. Now, Black Moon Lilith in Capricorn is definitely in the sixth house. Sometimes that can make work a little bit tough. And it definitely, with all the Pisces, it could come from like taking on too much and having issues saying no potentially. But I would look more at the Capricorn side. Um, you know, I think that just speaks to, like, the need, like, knowing when it's like needed to let go. And taking on too much work potentially. Also, one other way it can be looked at is, yeah, just being like a control freak when it comes to work, and not like trusting other people. Like thinking like only your way is the way to do things. But Black Moon is not a planet; it is just a potential, right? So it's you a potential that represents you at your lowest vibration. So then the last major asteroid is Pallas. So the Pallas is in Capricorn. It makes one very, very good at structuring their mind and like kind of having like a very like pragmatic plan to use like wisdom in order to kind of like slowly but surely like get to get to where they want to get. So like being able to like plan for the long term. And sixth house is great. It's great for creating schedules and being organized, and also being a gifted healer. So, okay. Let's pull these bad boys up. Okay. Nothing on the ascendant. Oh, you have the nebula on the heart of fortune, so that represents like you. Oh, and you have a 29-degree Pluto. How did I not see that? But yeah, the nebula is literally like about like not just astrology, all things like esoteric, all things like underneath the surface. And to have the part of fortune there means that, like, by going to these places, you're gonna be able to learn a lot. So Pluto 29 degrees is really like, it's about death, rebirth, transformation this lifetime. Um, you know, it is really about like digging deeply to find the truth in this lifetime. Um, and esoteric issues can play an important role in your life. It's really about like this lifetime being a critical one for like really going through that death, rebirth, transformation of karmic things that are no longer needed for your self-empowerment, right? And getting rid of like different like obsessive and compulsive behaviors, stuff like that. So hold on just a second. Okay, so Neptune, the galactic center, so your channel for conscious for cosmic energy. It's just like a muscle, like at the gym. You got to get the muscles going for them to work at the best. Okay, what's that? Is that Altair? I know it's Altair on Mercury. and Sappho and Altera, Mercury. So you could be an amazing, 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 amazing poet. Okay. You're really able to see the beauty in your partners. Ooh, and arrows on your sun. Okay. Let's look at this real quick. So I have that 14 was 12. And yeah, Industrial and Scorpio conjunct IC, so you could have like past life talents related to like psychology, something like that, that you could really use in your career. And then Alphecca, is there anything about that on the IC? It says a splendid and illustrious life, glorious might in commanding nature, prosperity in old age or through savings, investments, or pensions. Okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, so maybe it's not fame. Industrial is not fame. It's just like that's like an industry you could be really good in. Anything related to Scorpio. So like it could be anything esoteric, occult, whatever. Okay, Altair with Mercury. I don't know if they have anything on that. Sappho with Mercury. Eros with the Sun. Is that Markab with Mars? I know that's a difficult one. Gat with the Moon. Damn, you got a lot of stars and asteroids. Gat, astrology. That's some difficult ones too. So these fixed stars and asteroids, they only matter if they're in close conjunctions. So karma is conjunct your midheaven. So that just shows that um that your career and your dharma is really, really ruled by, there's a lot of karma playing out there. And you can kind of, as long as you're putting your best foot forward, you can kind of be rest assured that the right connections are going to be at the right time. And you also have Lilith with like kind of like with the Chiron. So that could be like something around like feminism, or just being like a really tough woman that's able to stand up in this like very like patriarchal society. Okay, so let's go through these. Okay, so first of all, Jupiter and Uranus in their positions. So I already talked about the Jupiter one. So Uranus conjunct Antares, it says abnormal and extreme ideas, someone who can exaggerate, very, what? No, that's not good. That's not right. Okay, it says this causes spasms through the sciatic nerve and down through part of the thigh. It's not painful, but is unstable as a person will shake tightly when they try to put weight on that side. Hops would be of great help and should be taken 3 times per week in an herbal tea such as chamomile, which would relax muscles. Okay. Alrighty, righty. Okay. So Sun and Eros conjunct. Your very identity is closely tied to your intense sensual nature. You easily express your creativity and may find intense pleasure in flaunting your artistic gifts. Your key, so how many times have I gone and said the word artistic, creative? Your key to remember, this is such an important lesson. It is not about views. It is not about getting other people to like it. It is only about what it does for you, like the idea of art therapy. Okay. So your key to erotic energy is visual. You need to be able to see or imagine your fantasies in order to feel turned on. You are more likely to express your erotic fantasies and desires when you feel good about yourself. You may need to feel seen, appreciated, and praised in order to fully let yourself enjoy an intimate encounter. Just as you love to be seen, you may find it to be okay. This is getting sexual. Find it erotic to be photographed or to take videos of your intimate encounters. You may also have an erotic desire to experience intimacy in public places or in situations where you are able to fully view your lover in the full view. You don't hide your fetishes. Okay, so we get it. It's very, you don't hide your fetishes and are very open and expresses about your desires. Okay, so we get it. It's an erotic one, but I thought it was more about like, um, I thought there's a piece. Okay, it says here, there's an awareness and acceptance of your sexuality. So it's one of the sexual asteroids. Often it seems to indicate people who are very sexy and whose minds are focused on sex and love. The Aries Sun person is probably very sexually charged. The biggest problem I think many people would have to face is that they might have a tendency to be selfish in their romances and potentially indicates a desire to be worshipped sexually, since Eros is based on a more selfish, quotes, love. They might be more interested in their own satisfaction than their partners. They might have problems learning that love is a two-way street, especially when it comes to sex. This is mostly me right on top of my head, so if anyone is more educated about Eros would care to chime in. Okay, interesting. All right. But yeah, there's definitely like a huge lover vibe to you for an Aquarius, you know? It's on your descendant or it's on your seventh house cusp and it has Eros and Juno. So Juno will kind of like make like a lot add like a lot more of a romantic energy to that. So Markab is okay. So Scat and Markab. So Markab Mars, that it's not like a super important one. Um yeah, so it just makes someone like argumentative. Um and it speaks about okay, no, never mind. It's not there. Watch out for alcohol and other excesses once again. But every time I've said that, it's never been a problem. So watch out for uh um these are just such old like breakdowns of these like danger accidents by water. Like it doesn't say you're gonna get in one. It's just like um I think what I take from that is just it's really important to pick the right friends and the right partners, which I've already hinted at a lot already. And people can just become jealous of your like very, very like, you know, like esoteric kind of just, or not esoteric, just like very compassionate, like high Pisces mystical energy, you know? So Mercury, let me guess, Altair, it's gonna give a lot of like boldness. Doesn't give us anything. Which one was that? Okay. So I think that should be everything, right? Yeah. Oh, actually, let me check one more thing. So I grand trines don't really work with, or aspect patterns don't really work with the nodes, but you do have one that's like the north node, Pluto, and the sun. So your sun trines Pluto also. I didn't really get into that, but basically, and it trines Saturn. So that just makes someone who's super powerful in terms of leadership abilities and has like a real voice for the masses of the third house Pluto. Um, and someone who knows how to be like when to be assertive and when to kind of like, compromise, right? Um, and someone who can really like when they become obsessed with something, they can just go all in, right? And then the sun trine Saturn is really, really good, right? Because it gives lots of ability to get the job done, have lots of common sense, self-confidence. Um, and yeah, someone who just takes on responsibilities with a real sense of ease and who's just very organized and disciplined in their work. So cool, cool, cool. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I felt really good about this one. So yeah, just let me know. Let me know, let me know, let me know. And yeah, like let me know about adding that other reading. Let me just check to see if you yeah, you have the follow. Okay. Wait, no. Oh yeah. Yeah, you did. You did. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed. Ciao.